Hi, I'm McCarthy, and I help people with their breakups. And today we're going to talk about open relationships. Do they work? We have some stories to unpack. A situationship, which is a phrase that I plan on trademarking. Situationship, basically, it's not a breakup. There's a situation involved in the relationship. It could lead to a breakup. It could lead to issues, but you got a question about it. Go to writemac.com, send that in, or send in your story. Links up down below. I've been doing this for over 5 years, so feel free to share whatever you want to share, send it in, or if you want to book a live coaching session. All coaching sessions are refundable if you don't find them useful and helpful. Let's get into it. So open relationships. I think first you have to define what an open relationship is for you. So from the outside in, people would think, oh, it just means this. It just means that. What does it mean to you? All right. Because it's a numbers game, right? So if you have an open relationship, would it be a limit to 2, 3, 4 partners? Or are you going to tell the truth? There's all kinds of different parameters there that you don't have to necessarily say, oh, it's just an open relationship. I would think that you'd be able to explain what it is that you want and what your rules are of it. Okay. I don't think you just have this general topic of an open relationship. I've never been in one openly, as in an open relationship. I've had friends, family members. I've had clients that have been in them numerous times. And the book, The Game by the great Neil Strauss, talks about it quite a bit. So I'd like to get into that today. Number one, do they work for you? So that would be number one. Friends, family, and colleagues, there's going to be a lot of people out there that are going to go, oh my God, open relationship? Oh my God, you can't do that. You probably don't want to share all your ins and outs with that because it's going to go against what they believe. And it's just not for them at the end of the day, right? If you look at it, though, most of nature has an open relationship, right? Dogs and cats, they mate without having an exclusive partner. This isn't talked about a whole lot. So it's not outlandish for someone to do an open relationship. It really isn't. I think the parameters of society, the way things are set up, really makes people feel guilty about that. But if you look at the beginning of time, all the kings and the royalty that had the ability to do so did so. But they had rules to it, right? Number two, will everyone involved know the truth? That's a good question, right? Someone might say, oh, yeah, I'm completely open about it. I'm completely open about it. Are you? I would find it difficult to believe that when you're asking a woman out on a date or you're saying yes to a date to a man or a partner that you're divulging immediately, hey, I'm gonna open a relationship right now. Do you think that's possible, B?
That might be a little hard. I don't know.
Would you just close that on the first date?
I don't know. I guess you kind of have to, right?
I don't think you have to do anything. I'm just saying that you got to create your own rules for this, but It would be, if you started that way, it would be ideal. Right. You're going to get a lot of backlash, though.
Sure.
And this also probably depends on the environment you live in. The area, somewhere like Miami or a college area, might be more open to this. Number three, what's your intentions? So why are you in an open relationship? And this is a really good question to ask you about anything in your life to really get to the core of what you believe. So when you think about it, what's your intentions? Just to hook up, have fun, to meet as many partners as you can. Careful what you wish for. Getting involved with multiple people in relationships without really having a close bonded tie. You're going to be more susceptible to psychopaths, narcissists, crazies. And these are people like when they're done with you, you're like, what happened? I got hit with a train wreck of a human being. And just the idea that you're in open relationships and you're sifting through more people, more groups, is going to put you at a disadvantage in that way. That's why at the end of the day, the biggest playboy, the biggest woman that gets with the most guys or what have you, they usually want to settle down eventually. Why is this human nature? Even movie stars, ball players that have pick of the litter, they eventually want to settle down. It sounds good to yourself when you're in a great place in your life and you let me have an open relationship, but most people eventually want to settle down. So when you look at it, what's your intentions? If your intentions are something like, well, I've been in a long relationship that started when I was 19 and we've been in 6 years and I just want to have fun. I want to hook up. I want to have some experiences. I want to have more partners. That sounds really dirty to a lot of people, but some people in their 20s, that's what they want, whether they say it or not, right? So it's not outlandish or crazy. Number 4, can you deal with hurting some partners or them hurting you? I think this gets lost in the spinning plates theory, which is not a bad thing. So spinning plates is Rollo Tomassi, rational male, basically says when you're single as a male, date multiple women. He's not saying to have multiple wives, but he's saying date multiple women. It gives you more opportunities to meet a better woman. It keeps you sharper. The list goes on. What you lose in that is your propensity of guilt for hurting someone that like them, that has higher wishes and hopes about the relationship than you have for them. Now, in those cases, think about this. It doesn't feel good to make another woman cry. Okay. It doesn't feel good when someone says, I just flat out like this person better than you. You're setting yourself up for that in open relationships. You got to be a very strong individual. You have to have a lot of confidence. And even then, everyone meets their match. If you're going to have an open relationship, you're going to meet someone at some point where you're going to go, wow, this might be the one. This might be someone I want to settle down with. But if everyone gets humbled, I like to say, they might not be into you. So by doing this more often and not setting a nice filter and looking for a good partner eventually, you're going to be more susceptible to hurting more people and them hurting you. Number 5, what kind of open relationship will it be? What's the rules? Define that yourself. If you're in an open relationship situation where someone asks you about it, you don't just go, oh, it's just open. You should have some parameters. Like, I usually don't go with more than 5. I'm dating or something like that, right? Never been in that situation, but have some kind of playbook you're following. Now, a lot of people that I've known over the years that do this, whether they want to admit it or not, it tends to be very ego-based. Okay? We all have an ego. A lot of successful people have a healthy ego. It's the same thing as if someone owns 10 cars, they can only drive one. They usually, this is the ironic thing about this. Now, put this in perspective. Stay with me here, B. If you have 10 cars, right? I guarantee you'll still drive one of them prominently.
Mm-hmm. For different reasons, probably, but yeah.
But you know what I'm saying? Yeah. You probably would say, I'm going to use this car more often than not, whatever the reason is, even though you got 10.
Yeah.
You probably wouldn't equally ride the 10 cars or drive the 10 cars. And by the way, let's say you had one of them as a Ferrari or something like that. The ironic thing is you probably drive that the least. And you think, well, wouldn't you want to drive the funnest, baddest car, right?
Mm-hmm. Might get old.
It's interesting. It's an interesting thing, right? Mm-hmm. Stay with me on this. Shoes, right? There's a lot of people out there that like shoes, okay? I've been one of those people that have a little bit of a shoe collection, not shoes that are like limited edition Jordans or anything like that, but just like 10 pairs of shoes. It's something that you kind of accumulate as you get older, right? But really, I wear the same 2 pairs of shoes 90% of the time because number 1, comfortable. Yeah. The interesting thing about shoes is if they just fit a millimeter or a centimeter off, you won't wear them as much. Mm-hmm. Now, there's some women out there in the name of sexiness will wear shoes where their feet are like this, and they'll ignore that. Overall, most people will stick with the same shoes that are the most comfortable and practical, right? Now, there's some people out there, like I said, they'll wear, they'll rotate. They'll wear a new pair of shoes every 30 days. It's not common. Most people are going to stick with what's comfortable and what they like the most, even if they have variety. It's just how it is. Think about it in terms of food. We've never had more options as a world, if that's even proper grammar, as the world for food. Mm-hmm. I've talked to a friend about this. Like, think about how privileged we are that we can go, I want a burger. I can go get that in 5 minutes. I can get it delivered. I want a pizza. I want a burrito. I want Indian food. The list goes on. Could you do that even 100 years ago in the 1800s? Probably not. I mean, it's fairly new, right? That being said, probably still eat the same food or the same restaurant a majority of the time.
Sure.
Right? So where I'm going with this, even if you have an open relationship, over time, the human mind is going to end up selecting something that's quote unquote your favorite, most comfortable, best tasting. That might not be a great way to put it in this situation, but you know what I mean? So even if you're going to go into this open relationship situation, you probably might surprise yourself that at some point you're going to go, yeah, I don't want to do this anymore. I just want to stick with one, because to me, the best long-term partner isn't going to agree to this, right? They're just not going to be on board with it. So you're eliminating a lot of good catches by just being this way. Now, if you're going to be open to dating multiple partners with the openness of one of them ended up being the contender for your life partner or girlfriend or boyfriend, like we could just take it to a smaller level, that's fine, right? Now, there's plenty of couples out there that once they're together, their rule is it's open, but I approve.
Yeah.
Have you heard of this before?
Yeah.
Which to me would be a little awkward.
Like you just have to check in to make sure.
For guys, like let's be honest, guys are like,
oh,
oh, that'd be cool. Yeah, go ahead. You can approve her or not approve her. And it's like, you're going to bring a dude to me and I'm going to approve him. I'm like, nah, I don't want to do that. That's not my thing. Yeah, that'd be awkward.
A little awkward.
Right?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I met this guy down at the restaurant. I'd like you to meet him. What do you think? It's like, excuse me? Like I said, careful what you wish for. And one of the reasons that I'm going over this topic today is because it came in one of the stories today as a situationship, like I said. So if you have a situation with a bad date, anything related to a relationship or a problem at work, you can send this into writemac.com now, and we're going to unpack them on the live streams. I'm also taking live calls now. So that's also an option where if you want to call in and unpack what's going on with you, that's available too.
You can send in some shorter form questions as well.
Yep. So let me just put this invite in the thing. So today, getting into the stories, like I said, so do you have any comments or thoughts on open relationships, B?
No, I'm just kind of processing it a bit. Yeah, I don't know, it's a little foreign.
I think on the exterior, a lot of young dudes in their 20s would be like, fuck yeah, cool. But it's like, what if you got two or three that you're seeing, and you obviously, I don't care who you are, you don't like them equally. There's one that is a front runner.
Okay.
Right? And the front runner suddenly goes, oh yeah, I got another three I'm seeing. It's like, wait a minute. Hey, not fair. All right. So I think open dating's fine. I think open relationships are fine, but you're going to open yourself up to some issues with that. It's not going to be a clean break. Someone was asking me earlier if there was any books. I mean, this was asked in the story I'm going to go over. I don't know of any specifically on the topic. I'm sure they're out there.
Yeah, there's got to be something.
One that came to mind, though, is The Game by Neil Strauss, where he becomes a pickup artist and eventually talks about how he's had multiple threesomes and he had multiple girlfriends at one time that were all living with him. I think if you look at maybe Hugh Hefner, Playboy Mansion, where he had these multiple women living with him, I think a lot of that's related to lifestyle, which is okay. Okay. There's a lot of people out there that would marry or be in a relationship to be taken care of financially. Someone thinks that's crazy or totally wrong. Well, you're not in their financial situation, so don't judge them. That being said, that's a rule of the open relationship there, right? I'm sure Hugh Hefner wasn't like, oh, we're in an open relationship, but you also can have 3 boyfriends. So what's the parameters? Right. And if there was a study out there, it would probably show that the ability to stay together is probably going to be significantly shortened by the open relationship, because it's essentially what people are saying is, I can do better. I want more, or you're not enough. Now, they don't say that directly, but that's what someone's going to feel over time, I think, which aren't healthy things to feel. That being said, I think open relationships can work with the right dynamic, the right people. There will be some people hurt. But if you're leading with good intentions and honesty and you're in the right environment for this, where there's an abundance of other people that are into open relationships. Like I said, hotbeds for this would probably be like LA, Miami, things like that.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's get into the stories. First up, hello, coach. I've got a situationship. I'm currently engaged to my boyfriend of 1 year. To give you further context, that would be nice. Thank you. We were high school sweethearts. I actually was an exchange student in his home country of Finland. Living and going to school there was a great experience. I still keep in touch with my host family. I'm now 26 years old, and we reconnected about a year ago. So I'm just going to guess that was 7 years ago. I don't know Finland well, but I'm assuming at 18, 19, 17 is when you finished high school in the exchange program. So we connected about a year ago. We instantly sparked things up again. And then he came to my country to visit for 2 weeks. We had a great time, and he asked me to marry him, which I said yes to. I've always wanted to move back to Finland, so this was an easy yes for that reason too. Now it's getting closer to me moving over there, and I'm getting overwhelmed with a lot of things with the visa and wedding planning. So right off the bat, I would just, like you to reread that one of your major reasons for saying yes is the fact that you want to live there. Now that's great. That's good. I would just say, if you haven't been together in 6 or 7 years and your relationship was as high school sweethearts, where I'm guessing you didn't live together yet, you were at a different time of your life. You were probably a different person. And looking back, you kind of look at that fondly. Now you've been long distance for a year, I think it is, and you're going into marriage after you just met once. It could work. It's possible. Mm-hmm. Just if one of your primary reasons is just to move to that country, be honest with yourself, because I don't know if that's building the foundation for getting married. But that's up to you. Okay. We are going to keep things. Now it's getting closer to moving over there, and I'm getting overwhelmed with a lot of things with the visa and wedding planning. Well, that's just anyone that gets married gets overwhelmed with wedding planning. Okay. And dealing with family members and things like that. I think that's very common. So don't think that that's personal. It's something you're going to have to navigate yourself. We are going to keep things small and cheap, but my parents would like us to get married in my country too, which I won't do now, because getting married here means my husband will have to pay a dowry to my family of approximately $20,000 US. Okay. So I've lived in Thailand for a long time. Dowries are not uncommon in some countries, as shocking as it may sound. It is what it is. I've already told him, don't worry about that. But now my mother is really pressuring me more. I'm thinking of just cutting her off completely, but I also do love her. All right. So we got a situationship here. You certainly are an adult at 26 years old and can make your own decisions. I would tread very lightly, if you still love your mom, on just cutting her off completely. I would attempt to have a few more conversations, involve the fiance.
If that's the only issue, just that
right. If the $20,000 is just not there anyways, maybe perhaps suggesting that it's just not an option right now. But also saying that you're not planning on doing this, and tell your mom, look, I love you. I want to make this work, but I'm 26 and I'm going to get married to this man. I've also recently resigned from my job, and my boss was really upset with me and said some harsh things, and even called me a slut in our language for marrying a foreigner. Well, I mean, here's the thing. It probably hurt or upset you or really made you feel bad. But when you move away, or in 2 or 3 months, that boss is going to be nothing to you. So just be okay with that. Their opinion, they're probably jealous. I know I shouldn't care about her opinion, but it really hurt me bad, and it was public. Now I'm starting to wonder, should he even go through with this? My fiance has supported it all, and he's a very calming man. I just want to know, am I rushing things to just move to another country, or am I really going to be happy marrying this guy? That's a question I can't answer. Anytime you get married, you're taking a little bit of a risk. You're putting a ring on someone's finger. You're making a bigger commitment. People put more weight on that when you say my husband or my wife, people that aren't married or are married have their own expectations of what that means, hence the dowry or whatnot. But you at 26 years old, living in two different countries at different times, can make your own decisions on that. But just know there's nothing that's going to guarantee any long-term relationship. There's nothing, okay? But if you have strong feelings for this person, you want to give it a go, and you want to go all in, and you want to move over there, and he's a calming man, I don't think it's a bad move. And if you have to get a divorce in 5-10 years, it's an option. It's okay, right? At the end of the day, do you love him? These other problems like planning the wedding, dealing with your parents, separate them. Deal with them individually. This would be a really good time to book a live coaching session with myself to unpack these things, to just get clear on them. And some people aren't going to like what you're doing. You're moving away. Family members can be jealous. Family and friends could, for them, that would be an odd thing or a crazy thing to move away. But you got to do what you got to do. You've already lived in a foreign country. You've already lived in this country before. You have way more experience and you know what you're getting into. It would be totally different if you told me you met someone online and you never had a background with them or the country they lived in. That's a different thing. That's going into something much more blind. I just want to know, am I rushing things? To add one more thing, I still have distant feelings for an ex of mine whom I run into often as he lives in my town. He never asked me out, but he's kind to me when he sees me. And if I'm going to be honest, I'd rather marry him, but he's more of a playboy type and I don't trust he'll be faithful. All right, well, this is, this is one of those situations. Everyone listening to this is probably going, well, you shouldn't get married then. Let's be honest. People can be with someone and have feelings for someone else that was a past partner or someone they had a crush on. But what they don't realize, the grass isn't always greener. And just because you have this crush, it's probably because he's unavailable. It's that want what you can't have. But if he's a playboy type and he doesn't seem that interested, maybe he wouldn't be the right husband for you. Okay. So I think a lot of people wouldn't admit this, but when they're getting married or right when they get married, they have thoughts of the one that got away or the one they used to hook up with. I think that's human. Would you agree?
Yeah. You start to panic a little bit. Like, oh, what else?
I had a really good friend of mine in his mid-20s that got married, and he was very in love, very good couple. Mm-hmm. And he said like 2 weeks after he got married, and they planned the wedding for 2 years. They did a Ritz-Carlton $20,000 wedding. And he was like, for like 2 weeks, he went through, this is it. I'll never be able to like hook up with another woman. He said it really bothered him for a little bit. And I was like, well, why was it different than when you got married? He goes, I don't know. It's just a different commitment. So I think that this idea that you kind of have feelings for this idea, I'd rather marry him, is a little disturbing. You might want to take one step back from that. But I think these feelings definitely are normal and bubble up for individuals when they get married. It's a big commitment. I don't trust he'll be faithful. Okay, sorry, going back to that. He never asked me out, but he's kind to me when he sees me. And if I'm going to be honest, I'd rather marry him, but more of a playboy type. And I don't trust he'll be faithful. When we broke things off, he seemed to not care much. All right, if you move and you get married to this guy in Finland, this guy that you won't see around in town, you won't see him again. Now, my question was, have you been unfaithful? Right, that would be my question. Are you really into this guy who you're marrying? Are you just marrying him because you want to move to that country? You really got to think about that. The other option you have here is just postponing the marriage for another year and finding a way to live over there and live together for a year before you get married. When you live together, it's totally different relationship. B knows what I'm talking about. It's totally different. And you can get very close living together, but you also can get very annoyed, very irritated. And so I'm a big proponent of, before you get married, live together for a little while and see how that goes. It's not going to be rose petal and wine glasses for sure. But if you've never done it before and then you get together and you live together, it's a big step. Now that this move is getting closer, I feel like I'm getting second thoughts. How should I deal with this? Like I said, I think that a lot of people that get married probably have a few second thoughts. The fact that you're resigning from a job. Your mother doesn't agree with it.
She's moving.
You're moving to a new country. You got a lot of moving parts here.
Mm-hmm.
You're taking a chance. The reality, some people out there will be like, oh my God. Most relationships, you're actually taking a chance with your heart. You're taking a chance when you get married. You're taking a chance of it not working out. You're taking a chance when you take another job that they might fire you or not like you. Most of the things that have the highest rewards, you're taking a chance or a risk. This guy that you've known before, that you love and you said yes to, if you want to go for it, go for it. Your mom's probably going to come around. Don't give in to things that you really aren't happy to give in on. Have good conversations with her and do your best. The job or this boss talking foul to you, that'll dissipate once you move. This guy that you still have kind of a crush on that's in your hometown, he was never going to be a marriage partner. So the idea that, oh, I'd like to marry him, this is just kind of a crush that went wrong, right? What I would recommend, if you really want my take, I would give yourself a little bit more time before you got married. In other words, before you jump in with this guy, he either moves to your home country or you move there and you live together for a year, right? And if you're not happy with your job, that's why you quit. Get another job that makes you a little bit happier and see how that helps your relationship. How should I deal with this? How do I reassure myself I'm doing the right thing? I would say that don't fight the idea that you have to reassure yourself. If you have second thoughts or questionable things, I don't think it's outlandish to give yourself more time. Say, hey, you know what? I'd like to. If you're just doing it like, oh, well, we got to get married so I get that visa, I don't think that that's going to serve you. And when you start having problems with this guy in a year or so, and when I say problems, I don't know him. Seems like a nice guy. I'll go on what you're saying. But when you start living together, there's going to be little things that annoy the hell out of you or upset you or come about. There is a, I don't know, small percent of humans that are like, you're around them and you're like, wow, they just seem a hundo, like everything. Have you known those couples?
Yeah.
I've known a few over the years, and I remember, I'll never forget this. When I was a kid, my aunt had a couple friends that were married couples, and I'd hear my mom gossip about it, and like, oh, so-and-so and so-and-so, such a good couple. That guy's such a nice guy. I'm going somewhere with this. This is a young coach, right? Young breakup coach in the making. And I'm like 9-10 years old, and I remember hearing it. And this one couple that I had met before that had a daughter, they came to parties for my aunt's birthdays for her kids and stuff like that. And they were getting a divorce. And they were like, oh my God, I forgot their names, Cheryl and Mike or whatever. Oh my God, they seem like the perfect couple. He was such a nice guy. You never know what goes on behind closed doors, and you never know what the problem is. People, let's say you have a birthday party for your kid, right? Or I'm an uncle at a birthday party and 10 different couples show up, and you think, oh my God, they're so great together. Or you think, God, that guy's a jerk. You make all these stereotypes. You don't know what happens behind closed doors. Here's the funny part. That aunt had another best friend that was a couple, and the guy seemed like a real asshole. Like, he just seemed like a jerk. He was kind of rude. He would kind of be directed with the wife. They're still married. You know what I mean? So
who knows? Right.
Who knows? And you could be from, so you got my thing is, before you get married, I would take some time. I would say 2 years would be a nice number to live together first. You could be engaged during that time if that's something that, a lot of people, that's a big deal. A lot of women, they really like having the ring. But it's going to be a rude awakening because shit comes up. And if people aren't established in their career yet, that's the other thing. If they're kind of like, oh, I need 2 more years to get my doctorate, and then I'm going to actually be a doctor, and then that PhD to that doctor, to that lawyer, they're going to be a different person. This is huge. So when you're in a relationship with someone that's a university student working part-time at Jamba Juice, and then they become a paralegal to a lawyer, and you stayed managing a restaurant, it's when you're together, all of a sudden you're like, what changed? Your identities from your job or your career, from the roles you took on in your life. If someone becomes a stay-at-home mom after working at a bank for 5 years, her identity changes. And so this is where, when you get into married life, people who have really staunch, how should I say it, anchored identities and jobs or careers, it helps in the longevity of the relationship because people aren't thrown off by, like, what's this? Right? Mm-hmm. So when you get married young, a lot of times, oh, we were just too young. If they look back at the relationship, I guarantee most of them will go, well, right before we broke up, she got a new job. Or right before we broke up, she started hanging out with new friends. Or right before we broke up, he had just finished university and had this degree, and he had to change jobs to another city, and I didn't like that city. There's some kind of change that happened there that you think has nothing to do with you, but it has everything to do with their identity, their personality, and their actions. And you just thinking love's going to prevail, it's ignorance, right? I wouldn't know this stuff unless I was doing it for so long. I've literally had a client that I did a live coaching with. They were both in university. They were high school sweethearts, but they went to, I think the schools were like 45 minutes or an hour apart so they could visit. And this guy was getting jealous. He was a wrestling jock. You know, he had, I think he told me his Instagram was like 10,000. He's like, I can get girls. I'm like, I'm with you, bro. I believe you. It's fine. And out of nowhere, we did a great session. He got some clarity. I told him about this identity thing that, you know, and he sends me an email. And he's like, what was it you said about that identity thing again? It was like a month and a half later. And I'm like, well, did you want to book a session? Just forget it, man. He writes back. And I'm like, well, if he goes, she started hanging out with a new group of friends and now she's not calling. It's like, yeah, that'll change things. Yeah. It'll change things. You can not like the friends, but if she likes the friends, right? Mm-hmm. So these are a big part of why probably older couples, probably post 50, they probably are more apt to stay together because they've got the identity established and whatnot. You just don't see an older couple get divorced as easily. In your 20s, you're changing in a lot of different directions. Doesn't mean it's impossible. It just means to be mindful of that. That's all. All right. So I got another story on deck, or this is actually in relationship to the open relationship. Thank you for your work, Coach Mac. Here's my story. I was in a serious breakup over 6 months ago, and about a month ago, I just started feeling better, and I started dating a guy that I worked with in the past. I always was into him, but thought he didn't like me much. All right, so you have immediate insecurity in the situation. So just realize if you keep that up, you're probably going to cause problems because you don't think he likes you that much. You're going to create scenarios that support that. That's not good. Now we've been dating a month plus, and he just told me that he's in a long distance relationship. He's not going to break that off, but he'd still like to see me. So a lot of people are going, oh God, well, at least he's being honest with you. He did say that they both agreed that they could see other people, but they planned on getting married eventually, and he believes they are soulmates. Okay. So I'm not sure where that leaves me. The interesting thing is that I don't really want a boyfriend right now anyways. All right. So if you don't want a boyfriend,
there you go.
I was fine with good dates and casual hookups, but I feel like I'm setting myself up for a problem down the road. And I just feel that this isn't a good relationship to be in post-breakup. I would agree. If you're stating that, I don't need to confirm that to make that true. That's what you feel. That's what you're going to produce subconsciously. Mm-hmm. So take your own advice. That's why it's good to write things out. I agree. If this was a different, I mean, also, now that he's told you about the long distance thing, does that mean he's going to discuss it with you? And here's the thing about you're getting introduced to an open relationship. He has someone already. You don't.
Right.
Now, if you had someone, you're like, oh, great. I have someone too.
Yeah.
Three's a crowd sometimes, folks. Mm-hmm. I asked recently if I could meet her. No, let me see here. I was fine with good dates. I'm setting myself up for a problem down the road. I just feel like I asked recently if I could meet her and talk to her. He said, yeah, sure, but not for another month. I mean, I guess that's the right thing to do, but that would seem like an awkward conversation, especially if you're sleeping together. That would definitely test how open the relationship is. Till he has more time to evaluate our relationship. So that's him putting you in his frame. Let me evaluate you before I let you talk to who I'm with now. Everything's in his favor right now. He has the extra girlfriend. He's deciding if he evaluates you or not. Yeah, it's not a good situation for you to be in. He also just told me yesterday that he's always dated multiple women. He found open relationships to work as long as everyone knows the truth. What's your opinion on that? I mean, regular relationships don't always work, even if you tell the truth. So no, that's not a given. I think that you're opening up things to more problems, more jealousy. Someone's getting left holding the bag in the sense that if you have more feelings for him than he does, he has other options. So that's fine. But no, it doesn't always work because you know the truth. Does that help it? Yeah, absolutely. A friend told me that he's just a narcissist, but that's the weird thing. He's really sweet and kind, man. Well, narcissists can be sweet and kind. Are there any books on open relationships and how to approach them? I talked about this earlier in the live stream. Let me know what you think on the upcoming live stream. Like I said, this is kind of backwards because this is what I went over in the beginning. All right, let me get to the live stream and see if anyone has any comments or questions. Let me just check in with some people. Paul Chicola. What a cool name. Mr. Chicola. Can't imagine working out long run. Glad to hear you, Coach. Happy to help support the channel. Right on. Sam Lujan, always a pleasure.
Sam, what's up?
Eduardo Martinez. Got a funny story about that.
Yeah.
Have a former client or person that used to come on the live stream quite a bit that has a pizza restaurant in Mexico City.
Oh, wow.
And he's on my Instagram and he posts pizzas all the time.
Nice.
So random.
Yeah.
And so I said, I liked his pizza post and I said, best pizza in Mexico, I hear. Joking, right? And he goes, that's what Eduardo Martinez says. So he mentioned you in the post. Kind of random, right? Anyhow, so this is an interesting thing. I think that moving forward, there's probably going to be some more people open to polygamy and open relationships. But it's, any way you dice it, relationships, people get hurt. There are some risk involved. There's no foolproof. That's why whenever anyone goes, oh, you got to still date your partner. You got to do this. You got to do that. And then it'll work. It's still, look at friends and family members that you thought were good couples and they end up breaking up and you're like, what happened? Right? You can't overcome the problem sometimes. All right. So, B, you said that there was a couple questions that had come in that weren't stories through the contact part of brightmac.com.
All right. Let's see. Hey, Coach Mac. Just got back together with my ex after a 4-month breakup. We were together a little more than 3 years. I cheated on her and I absolutely regret the decision. She said she forgave me, but I still feel like at times she isn't totally over it. How should I handle the situation when I feel her getting upset or making remarks that bring us back to where we were when we broke up? Do you think giving her more time will help? Thanks, Coach.
But they're back together?
They're back together, yeah.
That's what's really, and they broke up because of a cheating by him. That's what's really hard when you get back together and someone can't forgive or let go of that. And when it's cheating, most people can't.
Right.
What happens is when human nature is this, me and B get in an argument, right? And the human mind grabs. B makes a comment. He's trying to hurt my feelings about my receding hairline because he's got a good hairline. So he's like, oh, goes after me. He's like, oh my God, look at your receding hairline. I'm like, you want to go there on me? Right. So then I go for like the harshest thing I can find on him. This is immature communication, right? This is going for the kneecaps, right? So what happens is a lot of times people get in an argument, maybe it's based on reason or logic, right? It's like someone has a serious conversation about money, coming up with the rent. It's like, I need more help from you on the rent, this or that. You need to get a job, da 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 da. And the person's like, Then they go, you're just a lazy lump of coal, piece of crap. They go into all these different things. And now you start grab bagging anything you got. The problem is if someone's got what I would call the Trump card, not related to Donald Trump, but the card that you can drop and you can always fucking win.
Well, that one time you did this.
How? And clients have told me before, they always bring this up. And then I go, well, what do you do when they bring that up? Well, there's nothing I can say because I did cheat. I'll say sorry or I'll stop.
Right.
The ultimate Trump card is to break up, right? Someone doesn't want to break up. They're like, I'll break up with you. But this is like, if you've ever, do you remember War?
The game? Yeah.
The card game?
Yeah.
Aren't jokers winning all? Or was that the only version of War? I forgot what card game where a joker wins everything.
I don't know. That might be War.
He looks at me very confused. Maybe that was just a version I played. I don't know. But there's a card where you can drop it every single time. And every single time you bring up that, the other person gets away from what they're guilty of. Maybe not working, maybe drinking too much. Alcoholics and drug addicts are great at this. If you engage with them on confronting about drug addicts or alcoholics, they'll grab the nastiest piece of history on you, or they'll grab the biggest button to push to defer away from them. Now, people do this in couples because you're like, you've been out all night, you didn't call me for 2 days, and then it's like, well, you did this, or they defer it into something else rather than take full responsibility. And this is why when you have a partner that actually says sorry when they're wrong, it's gold. If they're like, I'm sorry, I was wrong. Even if they repeat the thing again, just the fact that they can do that is a big step rather than just defer it into like, well, you do this. I had a client recently, I'm doing coaching. I'm suggesting that they do a few items. Well, do you do that? Excuse me. You came to me for coaching, right? For help on your problems. But yes, I do this, or I do that, right? You're not taking responsibility for your problems. So if someone's not able to forgive you, getting back to this question, right? They probably aren't anytime soon. And if that's their way of engaging in an argument, it's going to be a problem. So how you react to it is very important. If you keep clamming up and saying, I'm sorry, or it won't happen again. If you got to say, look, I told you sorry already. I apologize. I paid the price. I was wrong. I accept that. I will not do it again. The reason I'm back with you, have a declaration statement. We can't keep bringing this up, right? And then maybe book a live coaching session and a couples with me or someone else. Do a couple session, maybe. Try that. But if they can't let it go and they're conveniently grabbing it to win arguments, then that's going to be a problem where you're not saying sorry more is actually counterintuitive. It actually will increase the amount of times they use it.
Because it's working. It's working.
Yeah.
So
it's like a kid. So what I would say to that is have a serious sit down before it keeps happening. Okay. And just know sorry multiple times does not make sorry better. It makes it pitiful. It makes it guilt-ridden. Yeah. And this is why everyone goes, oh, I just want my ex back. Well, on what terms? Because sometimes it's not going to be easy. All right. What's the other one?
Hi, coach. I'm not currently in a breakup, but I have a relationship question. So I've been getting a bit upset at my girlfriend for being on social media too much. I mean, it's not all bad, but I really think she is addicted. I constantly see her scrolling her phone and she can't make it through a movie without checking Facebook or Instagram. I will even hear the music from something she posted over and over again to see her checking who watched or liked it. How do you suggest I talk to her about this? Thanks, Mike.
I mean, you're basically dealing with an addiction. So it's an addiction. It's not someone ignoring you on purpose or being disrespectful or not making you important. It's an addiction like cigarettes. And addictions are not confronted unless there's consequences. So someone doesn't quit smoking cigarettes. My father smoked cigarettes for, I think, 20 plus years, pretty regularly.
Yeah, my mom too, same.
Right?
Yeah.
Pretty regularly. And my dad was never like embarrassed about smoking cigarettes or, you know what I mean? He wasn't, oh, I need to quit. I never heard that from him. He says that the reason he quit was he got bronchitis one month for a full month, like where he couldn't breathe well. And his doctor was like, look, it's going to get worse. I think he was in his late 30s or early 40s. And the doctor was like, you're just going to, next time it'll be 2 months. And he just went, all right. And he quit cold turkey and he went all in on it because he said he was so sick with bronchitis and coughing up, consequence. And I remember as a kid, he would always cough up lugs, we'd call them, right? And I thought as a kid, wow, that's cool. You could spit really far. But that's my point. So like, if you look at it, Instagram, you're like, oh, cigarettes don't kill you. It doesn't kill you. It kind of kills your interaction with other humans.
Instagram doesn't kill you. Yeah.
Right. So, from the outside, someone would be like, oh, there's also people using it for branding. They
like
use
their work, their job. Or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
So there's different reasons. So they can validate it for a lot of reasons. So it's really hard to create a consequence unless they find it. So that's why, like in breakups, like a lot of times the consequence is you see your partner with someone new. That's a direct consequence that hurts you to stop using it. So you're not going to be able to just go, hey, I don't like this. Just like if your mom was smoking cigarettes and you said, Mom, I don't like the smell of smoke. That wouldn't probably turn things. All right. Right now, I'm going to take a quick break to get water. I'm a little bit parched, but when I come back, please let me know if you guys have a specific question or topic you guys want to get into. And also, if anyone wanted to hop on the live stream today, I do have a link on deck. And if you have a situation in your relationship or something that you want to discuss at work, please let me know. I'll be a moment. There it is. It'll be about. Hold on a sec. All right, folks. Back on deck. Okay. So, anyone that wants to come on and talk about a limited belief or a problem outside a relationship, I'm open to that too. So if you got a situation where you're really upset with your boss, you're stuck on something, we can talk about that.
Whatever it is.
Right. A lot of times in my breakup coaching stuff, it usually leads to other problems. Usually it leads to other stuff that is really making it more hard on you. And this is where I'm headed with the live stream long term. So anyone that wants to hop on that StreamYard link is extremely easy to use, and we can get into it. If you don't want to show your camera, that's totally fine. But if you got something that's irritating you with work, family, friends, that's outside of a relationship thing, let's jump on it. I don't understand polygamy. It defeats the purpose of being in an exclusive relationship, but who am I? Everything is opinion based nowadays. Absolutely.
Sure.
I mean, it sounds great for most guys. I would say, like I said, careful what you wish for. I've known a few guys that were very wealthy that did it post divorce.
Okay.
Which make, you know what I mean? And the whole thing about being rich is convenience, getting what you want, controlling situations. That's what money does, right? I think when this guy that I knew, friend through a friend, he had 3 girlfriends, and he was, very cocky, arrogant guy. And I've heard one of them already fell off, and there was jealousy involved. There was problems amongst them. The problem with it is most people like the idea of fairness and equality. So like, just like when you're in an exclusive relationship, part of it is, I won't do it if you won't do it.
We're on the same level here.
Yeah, you know what I mean? So that's the big part of it. I won't mess around, but you won't mess around too. But when you do, to me, a lot of times polygamy, someone's winning. Someone's getting more girls, and he's not allowing the woman to do the same thing, or vice versa. Now, there is something to the fact that I think since the beginning of time, there's been men out there that are completely capable of this due to their attraction, their resources, their money, right? Where if a woman does it, which I think Cleopatra, I don't know a lot of history, but supposedly she was she had multiple.
Okay.
She used it in the name of manipulation. Interestingly enough, I was just telling B this and another friend. I watched Pamela Anderson's, I was talking to you about this on Pamela Anderson's documentary. It's called Is This Love or something?
On Netflix.
And it was interesting because, I mean, she was a bombshell. She's a total smoke show.
What, in the 90s?
I would say it was late 90s, yeah.
Late 90s?
I think Baywatch was around for like 10 years. It was an
That's what she was known for.
It was an international show too.
Before.
Right? But it was interesting. Number one, she's Canadian, which a lot of people wouldn't know. She grew up in BC on a small island. But I just didn't know that she had been with that many men before. She had 4 husbands: Kid Rock, Tommy Lee, and a couple other guys. And just the way she was, one of the things that was interesting was that she was really upset because she was talking now, and I don't know exactly how old she is. I'd say late 50s, early 60s. She definitely looks different. She didn't have makeup on when she was talking. She still, you could tell she was a beautiful woman when she's young. She's got a sweet voice too, I think. She had like a sweetness. But she was really upset that she would always get questions about her boobs. And everyone would talk about that. That would always be the question, or the sex tape with Tommy Lee. And it's kind of like, well, you pose for Playboy and you've got a set of cannons. Like, it's not like you just went and got your boobs lifted or an extra size. You know what I mean?
Like you went all in.
Yeah. It's like if I got deer antlers attached to my head, everyone would go, what did you,
and if you were,
how did you do that? And then I go, why do people keep asking me about these deer antlers? It's like, it's not normal, hun, when you're slim like she was. She was very slim. And you have giant cannons. I mean, that are
and
like
shocked when people are like,
yeah. And it's like, oh, they just kept and they would just bring it up over and over again. Like it was so funny. It's like, well, you played into it, and she did Playboy multiple times, which is completely fine with me. But this is the tough thing about that. You're typecasting who you are. But Don't go on later on in life and go, how did that happen? It's like, well, you got the surgery. And and all the David Letterman, Jay Leno's they were showing, she never stood up and was like, stop talking to me like that. But the consequences of being famous, right, is having to deal with people judging you and asking questions you don't like. And I can understand that, but the idea that she was upset that she was, and really they were cheap jokes, like Jay Leno and those people. Sometimes they're
corny when you look back.
Oh, it's corny as fuck.
Yeah,
it's like, oh, so let me ask you that. You're like, oh. I'm like that. That's the part. Like, could you do better with some of your jokes, guys?
I mean, it is on like what cable TV. So
you know what's incredible about that? Like Johnny Carson or Jay Leno, all their jokes are written for them
by their staff. Yeah, writers.
Well, supposedly David Letterman said Johnny Carson liked to write jokes for him sometimes. It's kind of random.
Wow.
Like just to stay in it. But
I mean, you do it every night.
But I'm saying like, oh, someone's like, oh, Letterman's great. Right. It's like someone wrote it for him. All right. What are your views and values on people who are narcissistic? This is a question from friends in the past who dated obnoxious girlfriends. I once witnessed my friend pushed against the wall and she thought she could do no wrong. To this day, I despise her overall for mistreating my buddy like that. He's one of the nicest guys ever. I've never heard him curse. That's how nice he was. All right. So the fact that he's an ultra nice guy probably contributed to that. I'm not condoning women throwing some guy against a wall, but it's also, she's probably testing him. Like, are you really this weak? And don't take that as like I'm taking a jab at your friend. I'm just saying that if you're a really nice guy, women will test you to see if you'll step up. And this is one general statement that I do believe. It's human nature to take advantage where you can.
Kids do it all the time. Like when they see a little opening or they see your
humans
little weak,
do it too. There are people that had like an upbringing that are like really, oh, I would never do that, but really.
No, I'm agreeing with you because I'm saying kids just naturally.
So a woman that's a little bit more uppity or that, and the guy's real soft or nice. If she pushes him around and he keeps taking it, then she'll keep pushing him. Yeah. The idea that there's more narcissists than ever, it has to do with Instagram. It has to do with a friend of mine was just dating a woman that they were out on New Year's and they were in a vacation getaway. And when the clock struck midnight for New Year's, she was taking pictures and stuff like that. And he was like waiting for his kiss, like hug. And she's like, sorry, I'm just working on my brand. I mean, that's real.
Wow.
Someone's like, oh my God. I mean, that's
talk about like not being in the moment.
Well, I mean, look at it. Like if you're a good looking woman and you really value your looks and you've gotten a lot of attention on that, building a brand on Instagram is a job.
Nowadays, it's a big job. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's a lot of money and you don't have a boss the same you would. So it's attractive. But if he's dating an obnoxious girlfriend, what he has to realize is this is the biggest thing. When you take a step back, he has a role in that. He's accepting her behavior.
He's putting up with it, right?
He's putting up with it. He's taking time to be with her. He's taking time to negotiate through her obnoxiousness. And he looks at it like, oh, I got bad luck with women, or where do I meet? This happened to me. It hasn't happened to me. And I'm not saying I'm better. I'm just saying that an obnoxious woman that would like push me into the wall, I just can't even imagine it. You know what I mean? So he's putting up with it. He's a part of it. Just like the classic, I've known guys that had 3 kids and they're like, I don't know what happened. I do. I mean, I don't have to be a PhD.
Got some idea.
Right. Yeah. And it's okay, but don't be like, oh, she did this, she did that. And then we had 2 kids. It's like, well, like this one guy had, where they had a mistake or, like wasn't planned. And then he said he got the girlfriend a bunch of, birth control, like a whole box of it. He's like, take this every night. She never took it before, She wasn't the sharpest person, he said.
Okay.
So then he goes, within 2 months of having his newborn, she was pregnant again. Because he goes, she didn't take the pill. I'm like, it's still partly you. It's still partly on you. Do you know what I mean? It's not that even though he's like, I did this, I did that. It's like, well, you didn't really register if she was the type to be diligent enough to take a pill every night. There's people like that, right? If she's irresponsible, if she's carefree, and you're like, oh, I told her, take this every night and I put it in a box, it doesn't mean she's going to overcome those characteristics of who she is. Or the fact that possibly she wanted another one. I don't know. What did I do wrong? It's like, well, you're always at risk of that happening. All of us are, if you're in a relationship, but like looking at it like, oh, she did that. So I would say, like I said, with him, the minute she throws him in the wall, done. Right? The minute she starts bossing him around, he's got to ask himself, what's my trade-off? So there's always something with secondary gain. So if you learn this, therapists know this, I've learned it. It's one of the biggest things to realize about your life when you're dealing with crap. So just like someone that, if you ever met a hypochondriac, okay, I know a couple. They wouldn't say that. They'd get really upset if I called them that, but they're pretty much hypochondriacs, meaning they're always sick or they always have an ailment. But guess what? Being a hypochondriac is great when you don't want to work. It's a great, I mean, it's a gain. So someone goes, oh, I've got this back problem. I got this neck problem. I got this ulcer. I don't know. It doesn't mean I'm insensitive. I think that you can believe into, you can create ailments. Your mind's very powerful on making your life. The mind is the maker. So that's a secondary gain that other people wouldn't realize. Why would someone want to do that? Well, then they don't have to work. Well, then they get attention.
Yeah, I was just going to say.
Right? You get attention. So there's certain things that'll shock you that people get secondary gains on that they don't want to get rid of. For example, if a homeless person doesn't go around saying, I'm broke, how are they going to get change in their jar? Like if you go down the street and they're looking like they got a fresh haircut, they got their best shirt on, they're clean, and they got, a fresh bottle of beer in front of them or a nice iced latte, and they're like, hey, can I get some change? You're like, what did I miss?
You want a second latte? What are you doing?
So, like I've actually, when I went back to California, I've seen people like that where I'm like, you're asking for $10? Like, looks like you had a fresh shave, man. Like,
at least look the part. You're doing it.
So I'm saying, like old school, the gain would be like wearing those clothes, smelling like a wino. Someone feels sorry for you. I'm more apt to give you money. Hence, have you ever seen someone with a dog? You're like, oh shit, I hope the dog gets fed. And if the dog looks skinny and malnutrition, you're even more apt. So that's why I'm saying that he's dealing with that. And this is just a guess. A lot of guys will deal with that because they think the woman's out of their league. Like, dude, she's so hot. You know what I mean?
Intimacy.
I've never done this before as far as the out of the league thing, but I've met guys that are like, she's out of my league or she's so beautiful. So they'll put up with shit like this as a secondary. Well, that's how she is. And then they'll find reasons. Well, she's in a bad mood because of this or that. And they'll let her push against the wall and all this stuff in lieu of, so that when they're out with friends, are like, yeah, that's my girl. And then they get entangled in the web. The thing about a real narcissist, you don't know they're narcissistic till they're gone. They're charming. They manipulate. They know what they're doing. And then when you take a step back, you're out of the relationship. You go, oh my God, I feel so relieved.
And you didn't think you were going to feel that? And you're
no.
Like, oh my God.
And that's the sign.
Yeah.
That means you've been manipulated. You've been entangled with someone they're not just selfish people that are taking pictures of themselves. They're very good at getting what they want. And it could be, dare I say, charming. She thought she could do no wrong. Someone like that too, if he's overly nice, because I've had guys like this, and they think that it's better for the relationship. It's not, because the best case scenario, you're going to get walked on, and then you grow contempt.
You're really happy with that?
Because you're like, I'm so nice. Yeah. Why aren't you nicer to me?
I keep getting more nice.
What you don't realize is you have a covert contract. If I'm nice, you should be nice to me. It doesn't work that way. Actually, a lot of women like you to stand up for yourself.
Stand up, say, yeah.
With a reason, or be short, or have shit to do. If you let the world revolve around them, they might let you do that, but they lose respect and attraction, in my opinion. She's been with probably 20 plus men. You're talking about Pam Anderson?
Pam, yeah. Justin Brown, what's up, man?
She put those water balloons out there, and then she complains about the commerce. That's what I mean. I was just like, the paparazzi thing and stuff, that would suck.
Being famous and
but it's kind of part of what you do.
Yeah, you sign up for it when you
know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's like it's that kind of character. The other thing she talked about was the sex tape that got out and how uncomfortable and upset she was. And it's like it was stolen from their house and whatnot.
Like
I could see that
legit stolen out of their house.
Yeah, and she's like, "Oh, we didn't make a dime from that," but they were offered $5 million, like early on.
But I mean, if you don't want it out there,
so she said they didn't take that, right?
Right,
so
you don't want it out there. And
all right, I'm okay. Like you're like, absolutely not. I'm not going to accept that. But then 20 years later, mentioned multiple times, and her sons are interviewed. She has grown sons, and they're like, they didn't make any money of that. That tells me that it bothers you didn't make some money off that, because you're like, it was going to be out there anyways.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean? Would I want that out there with my wife or something? No, but with the internet now, because this was during a time when the internet wasn't as, you're not going to win.
Right. It was
you know what I mean, right?
Shady.
You're not going to recover that.
Right. It was out there.
You're not going to recover that. So you might as well monetize it and then never let it happen again. But
maybe they thought they could make more suing the people. I don't know.
When you really get down to it too, it's like, yeah, no, it's not ideal, but at least you were doing something that you're not disgraced by. You were with your husband. I never saw that video. Did you?
Yeah, when I was in high school, when it was popular, yeah, I saw that. Totally.
Like I said, it made her more famous too.
Yeah, is that like the Kim Kardashian thing?
Like I said, careful what you wish for. I mean, that's we all want to be rich. I don't know if everyone wants to be famous. I wouldn't say that, but a lot of people want money for convenience and stuff like that, but there's a secondary price for that too.
I think we're all like, oh yeah, fame would be cool. And then when you're in it,
I don't feel like I wouldn't want paparazzi and stuff around me. No. I would want to make enough money to move away from that.
I think the people like that with the Pam types and stuff, they had paparazzi in their backyards and stuff trying to film them. That's got to be crazy.
Women can be just as evil as a man could be, if not more. It goes both ways. It's sad that people sometimes don't see it like that. It's
just evil in different ways. I think
talking to men, they think that women are more evil or more capable of being mean. But I think
women are better at being emotionally mean. They, how they can kind of get in there, and men can, take it out on physically.
And one thing that's true that I would say true in my opinion is when it comes to relationships, women have more options out of a breakup immediately. Now, if you're Brad Pitt or someone like that, maybe that's, not true. But a man that's emotionally hurt or upset post breakup is really unattractive to women.
Super unattractive. Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
If he's lost his confidence. A woman that's emotionally upset will get a date in a day from a coworker that goes, wounded on the savannah, hey, did you want to talk to me at lunch? Yeah. Because that's a feminine thing, right? He might not want to listen to it, but he won't be deterred from going on a date. So I think that's where guys sometimes blame the women for that. For some, evil is a lifestyle. Evil pleasure. Evil is such a strong word.
That is a strong word.
Always walk away from those types. Classic nice guy that gets walked on. Yeah, that would be my thing, Eduardo, is just that he needs to be aware that he's part of the problem and he's accepting it. So anyone that puts themselves in situations where they're with someone else and they're constantly saying they did this to me, they did that to me, they're not taking into account that they're not being strapped to a table, being tortured. It's like, Who knows how many? I don't know. It was interesting though. She has a new husband that's a Canadian guy that was a contractor for her new house or something. And she was like, yeah, I guess I'll just try the contractor type. Like, it's like, it would be nice if you said you loved him and he was, it's like, oh no, I'm going to try it out. Like,
but I mean, to be fair, you're dating rock stars and whatever every weekend. That's a little bit different from just a normal everyday guy that's not, dealing with paparazzis and stuff like that.
It must be hard though that, like to date someone that's not famous or up to par. It's probably difficult because they're not used to, you know what I mean? Because you think different. Like, why would Kid Rock want to marry her after she's been with Tommy Lee and like the tapes, she has kids and those kinds of things, and all the stuff that surrounds her. It makes you think, is part of the publicity around it great? Or you know what, maybe I just don't know, maybe it was great intimacy. I don't know.
I think there's probably a lot of moving parts in those relationships, those super famous people.
To be fair, I can see why he dealt with it. This was his first official girlfriend at 17. He didn't know any of it. That's very true. So your first relationship, sometimes if you're not used to it, and like I said, it's your first intimacy, your first kiss, you're probably going, oh, this is just how it is. But probably, Eduardo, a lot of times when I ask guys about their parents or their caregivers, females too, it's related in what they'll accept in a relationship. So it's just kind of how it is. So whatever they witnessed when they were younger, affection wise, interaction wise,
has a lot to do with that.
Yeah. If you've ever met a guy and you're like, wow, he's just a jerk to his girlfriend, like the way he makes comments or jokes around, it's probably what his dad did.
It's how he was conditioned.
He thinks he's being funny, and everyone else is like, wow, that was low. Or I've talked about this many times about the level of affection and love shown in public. That's a direct thing that you learn from family.
Right.
You usually learn about hugs, and when I say kisses on the cheek, or and if your parents didn't do that, or they didn't do that with you a lot, when you get into a relationship and someone's like, oh, you don't love me, or you're not proud of, no, I'm just not affectionate, because we just didn't do that when I was young and I didn't witness it, so it's awkward. Or my parents were always fighting or unhappy with each other, so my dad would go for a hug and my mom would push him away. So that processes as a little kid, and then when they're in a relationship, they're kind of like, should I touch her? Should I hug her? And then the woman goes, oh, he's got a problem. It's like, well, it's a specific problem.
Yeah.
It's actually understandable. Most 17-year-old guys have no clue as to what they're doing. Well, I think nowadays with YouTube and Andrew Tate, how much that stuff spread, I think that they're taking up a rule book.
There's something.
It's shocking
for sure.
There's a kid I know here in Thailand. He's half German, half Thai. I've known him for years. Very nice kid. And he's like, do you know who Andrew Tate is? In Thai, you know what I mean? That philosophy is being passed around, whether you like Andrew Tate or you don't. This idea of masculinity, toxic masculinity, these are huge topics. The only problem there is guys are putting into practice staunch, strict rules on dating and what men are to do and what women are to do.
There's no give. There's no.
They're not allowing for
nuance.
Yeah, and so, like I said, some of my young clients, some of their rules, I'm like, where did you come up with that rule? Oh, she doesn't kiss me on the first day. It's like,
oh,
I mean, you can make that your rule, but I think that you're eliminating some women that might be good. I mean, if you had a good date and the woman's shy or conservative,
maybe she had a bad experience before. I don't know. Who knows?
But I don't think that would be very good if you're looking,
Right.
And that was some rule you picked up from a book from Red Pill or something. I don't know. Yeah, but experience trumps everything, right? So that's why, like I said, whether you're in an open relationship or whatever kind of thing you're in, You know, the story that was sent in earlier today that was talking about getting married, moving to another country, being unsure about things. I mean, you can go in. The interesting about marriage, it's like to death do us part, this, that, and the other. It's like, really, do you really think you're signing up for that? Because in the back of your head, you know, not this day and age, like divorce isn't death. It's not jail. It's a possibility. So even though marriage holds this big holy title and someone's like, oh, there's never been more divorces, I think people just accept the fact that if I'm unhappy or it's not working out for whatever reasons I don't want, it's an option. Where I think there was times where it wasn't an option for like grandparents' generation, early 1900s as much. It was like, stay in it.
I think you were really looked down upon if you got divorced back in the
You know
day.
what I mean? It was
Yeah.
it was like, and like I've told people before, I think that produced a lot of marriages where someone was getting 80% of the pleasure and the good parts, and someone was getting 20%. If you ever looked at any of these mob movies, like Goodfellas, and I don't know anyone in the mafia.
In the mob, you don't know.
No. It's like you watch these movies, like, yeah, I know about that. So Sopranos. Oh, hell yeah. Soprano. You know, you watch them all. Part of the subculture, if that's true, which a lot of the movies are based, like Donnie Brasco is based on a true story.
Yeah.
Goodfellas is based on a true story. All of them cheat. All of them treat their wives like, shut up. Okay? Just shut up. Okay? You need some money? Go ahead. And they all have a girlfriend. They all have a girlfriend. I mean, every one of them. The wives don't leave. They stick with the guy. I mean, is that good marriage? I don't know. If she accepts it and she says, well, I have enough money and I can raise my, I don't know. The only one that I remember, like the guy didn't openly cheat, is like the Godfather, the actual Godfather. Marlon Brando didn't. Right. But he was also in his 70s or 60s when he was doing the movie. But everyone else did. You know, all those movies. It's like, oh, it's just how it is in that group. You know who stays married? Mr. Rogers. Have you seen that movie?
Mr. Rogers.
You know Mr. Rogers?
Is the children's?
Yeah. Have you ever seen that?
I haven't. Is there like a documentary or a movie?
No, there's a movie about him.
Oh, is it with Tom Hanks?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
It's pretty good.
I haven't seen it.
But he would pray every night. Like he's a religious guy. Okay. Like he had really big, high morals and values. But like the way they portray him in the movie, like he didn't. There's an example of someone that stayed the part. He had the same job for years. Didn't change identity. So I think his wife stayed home.
Okay.
Very religious. Mac, what are your thoughts that one lady on YouTube called The Art of Love? She reviews short breakup stories as well, but in my opinion, her responses are always shallow and bland. I've never seen that channel.
The Art of Love.
Never looked her up. Well, I mean, everyone has their own style, so I wouldn't say that. At the end of the day, when you do breakup stories, it's just an opinion based on your own experience. I do believe that having breakup stories is a good thing because you can get to the heart of your problems and actually reread the story that you wrote and actually get some clarity from that. Well, thanks, Eduardo. I appreciate that. And you haven't even done hypnosis yet. Hypnosis or EFT. What's up, G-Dubs?
G-Dubs.
G-Dub-BZ. Unbelievable. Anyone hear these kids that are at my pool screaming?
They're having a good time. Are they at the pool? Oh, yeah.
G-Dubza. Dubza. Let me know if anyone has any questions or you guys want to hop on. Someone want to hop on and talk about their situation. We can get into it a little bit.
No, I only see the piano. The pool's right behind the piano.
Angel Jimenez. Oh yeah. Let me think. In a relationship, I can't. The funny thing is, I was like, "Oh yeah," but actually, I gave the ultimatum.
You were the one. But did anyone give you an ultimatum?
I'm trying to think. I'm drawing a blank, which isn't common for me.
Come on, man. Just answer the question, all right?
I mean, I've had a few situations that appeared that way, but I didn't take it that way. You know, like, this is what I want.
So it was more like generalized, not a
like, if you don't do this, I'm going to break up with you.
Right.
I've actually only had one girlfriend before that actually created situations like that, and it didn't last very long. But I've always said ultimatums, the best way to go about that, even though they don't work in relationships and someone ends up losing, usually the person that imposes the ultimatum, because adults, healthy adults or semi-healthy adults, just don't like anyone telling them what to do. So they kind of bounce back. But the reason you do an ultimatum is you're just tired. You kind of want, subliminally and subconsciously, you want to just get an answer. And you hope by doing the ultimatum, if you're younger, that somehow they're gonna fold. But really when they don't, you're also saying, like, I really don't want to play like this anymore. It's like, stop drinking or I'm going to leave. It's like, they're probably not going to stop drinking in a day, or stop texting your ex or or we're done. It's like, they want to explain why they've been texting their ex and not just be a lay down. But they could be like, all right, I'll do it. But then what does that create? It almost creates, even when someone gets what they want out of an ultimatum, it almost creates like, yeah, I still don't believe you because that was too easy. You're just trying to be nice. Ultimatums are tough. It's better to ask questions and be upfront and kind of work through that. But they do work really well for people, like, not to actually get what you want, but to actually break up or move on, because then you can just be like, all right, you're not going to do it
specifically. You're
not going to do it. This is when people don't give you straight answers. What's your take on poly relationships? I talked about it earlier. I'll go through it really quick, but I just think that number one, do they work for you? Number two, will everyone involved know the truth?
Are poly, is that the exact same thing as just an open relationship?
I would say
polyamorous
is
like specifically they live together. I'm not 100% on. Is that what that is?
Well, they just said poly relationship, so I don't know. Look it up. Good question. Oh, you should know this. Oh, you don't know this? You're giving advice out there? I don't know the term. But going back to this, number one, does it work for you? You're not doing it for someone else. So if you're in a new relationship and you're like, oh, I'll try this, I'll do it for them, make sure you're doing it for you. Number two, will everyone involved know the truth? Number three, what's your intentions? Are your intentions good? Number four is probably the biggest one. Can you deal with hurting someone, some partners, or them hurting you? I think you're setting yourself up for more disappointment, more guilt, more pity seeking from you or from them, because even if you have 3, 4, or 5 partners that are approved and within the poly circle, someone's going to get upset or hurt. Someone's going to get pissed about the lack of attention. Number 5, what kind of open relationship will it be? What's the rules? So I think that's really important. Everyone, no matter how open or poly it is, I don't think there's any 1000% set of rules. What are you laughing about? The comments come in first for B.
Can you date a woman with pterodactyl toenails?
Why does it have a P on pterodactyl? It's funny. I just used the word pterodactyl a few days ago. It's so random. Can you date a woman with pterodactyl toenails? What are your top 3 peeves of a girlfriend in a relationship?
That's one for Mac, I know.
Bad feet is one. Yeah.
You've talked about that before.
It's nasty. Maybe I said that before. Maybe I said that knowing him, he probably remembered it. That's funny. I would say my peeves would probably be I mean, if you're talking about looks or attitude, I would say one would be just being pretentious. Being really pretentious is a big turnoff for me. Being like self-absorbed.
I've noticed some girls I've dated like look down on wait staff and stuff like that, and I've been oh my god,
I would line up with that. Just having another one would be like a girl that talks like Clueless.
Oh, like the movie Clueless?
Oh my god, and then
Were you in that movie?
Yeah, and then
I love the drawn out one.
I've met cute, good looking women like that. I would say smoking cigarettes is a turn off for me. Just as a, habit. Women that like to physically fight would be a turn off sometimes.
They're physical. So you're never gonna date
looks wise. What about looks wise? I would definitely say stained teeth. Like if your teeth are, like hygiene's big. You'd think that would be par for the course, but yeah. And here I am with my teeth have separated since I had braces when I was a kid, but I appreciate good healthy
hygiene
teeth.
Issue though.
Yeah, no, it isn't. You're right.
That's got to be big hygiene.
I don't really look at what I don't. You know what I mean? What I don't like as much. I guess one would be man hands.
Oh yeah,
man hands would be one. And I think most guys know what that means.
Isn't there a Seinfeld? There's a Seinfeld on that.
It's like not talked about, but it's noticed, right? It's kind of funny what you have for your different ones. It's more like what you like. Right? I'd rather focus on what I like than rather think about what I don't like. You know what gets lost for people a lot of times is smell, though. Like all your senses.
I was just thinking, like, when I really like what some, like a girl that I'm dating, she wears some perfume or whatever.
I would say I didn't realize this before, but voice and tone, which you wouldn't think is a big deal,
or your mannerisms,
like how a woman's like her voice or her tone, her can be something that's attractive that you wouldn't notice. Where I'm not going around going, oh, I hate her voice, but she smelled bad. It's not so much that.
Right.
Wow, no one wants to come on and be bold or brave to discuss their problems live. G-dubs, if you're still on, what's your take on a poly relationship, right? The interesting thing about that is it's going to be different for different people. Can you date women who checks all the boxes, Mac? The catch is she has OnlyFans account and she discloses this to you on the third date. What would you do?
Third date?
This would probably surprise you. I would probably not have a problem with it. if she was solo.
Like she wasn't a porn star.
No,
basically.
if she was getting,
Yeah.
if she was,
Right?
if she was doing it with like multiple partners and stuff like that,
Mhm.
First of all, I wouldn't go, oh my God. I'd go, really? I'd probably ask some more questions about it.
You would be intrigued a little
I'd be interested, and I'd be intrigued by the fact like you probably are making good money and you can take care of yourself on that. But does it line up that how should I say this? You're insecure or you're just doing it for the wrong reasons. But there are some women out there that are sensual, that love being that way.
Mhm.
And if that's true to them, I can roll with that. Now, would that be someone that I wanted to make as a long-term girlfriend? I'd have to ask more questions. But like I said, if she was solo on it,
Mhm.
that would be much different than if she was,
That
you
makes
know,
sense. Yeah.
having multiple dudes, do weird things. I mean, B, what would you do?
Oh man. Like I don't
He
look
was
down. I don't look down on anybody that does it or makes good money from it. It would be hard probably for me to. I don't know. I really have to see the person that I'm dating.
I'll be honest, I wasn't going to say it, but if she wanted me to be the co-star, right? If she wanted me to be the exclusive co-star, and we shared the profits, then I could be up for that. Yeah, sure, why not? I'm oblivious to it. Thus asking. It was recently presented to me, and I'm not quite sure what to think. What do you mean? What do you mean by like I'm oblivious to it? What do you mean? What do you mean by that?
Maybe she's just never done it.
I wouldn't say, to be honest, I wouldn't say that she's automatically for the streets. I don't abide by that. And someone's like, "Oh yeah, she's for the streets," or she's just. I wouldn't say that that's just someone looking for attention. There's some sensual, sexual women out there. That's their thing, and they're comfortable with it.
Doesn't mean you have to date them.
I don't think they're sleazy or anything like that.
If that doesn't line up with
if
you,
she's going out there banging every Tom, Dick, and Harry, and just looking for attention or something, yeah, no. But right, exclusive co-star, possibly. We're making 10 grand a month, living in paradise, possible. See how the circumstances would be different? B just went, yeah, that's true. 10 grand a month,
man.
You know what I mean? That's what I heard. There's a guy I've done coaching with before that he does it, and he's got a huge following. And I think he was making 10 to 20 grand a month, quit his job. I mean, that's a lot of money. To me, it's also a lot safer than doing full-on porn. I don't know what they do in OnlyFans, like I said. I haven't watched it myself. I think it's different for different people. But whereas if they were in like the meat factory of a porn industry, right? That's kind of different. Yeah. Whereas if you can control the narrative in your room and you have all the fans on your own, I think, well, there's something to be said for that. That's different. There's another lady that's on my Instagram that sometimes messages me and said she follows the channel. She just doesn't usually come on the live stream. She looks great. And I'm pretty positive if she doesn't do OnlyFans, she does something similar to it. Like she has her own web page. And she looks great. I mean, if she presented that to me, I would, like I said, I would talk about it. I wouldn't just go, you're for the streets. It's like, wait a minute, maybe we can come to a common ground here. Didn't you say that guy from No Jumper does it?
Yeah.
I don't know his name, but that podcast is called
Adam 22.
This guy's got a tattoo on his face.
I had no idea. I thought he just did a podcast because he interviews rappers and stuff sometimes.
So the thing was, his girlfriend, like his full-time girlfriend, that he claims to be his girlfriend, is a porn star.
I think she's
or
just
in the industry
porn star or something. Yes, or she knows.
And they're in LA, so this is where region and environment counts. And now B, who watches the show religiously, told me, this is a while back actually, that they'll have other porn star couples
on YouTube.
And then afterwards, if you want to watch them do
I
a
guess
foursome.
I don't know if it's an OnlyFans or like a website or something, but yeah, they go yeah, after that's what they do.
And this guy's like, yeah, this is what we do, man. All right.
He seems pretty chill though, like he doesn't give a fuck about
and I wouldn't
Yeah.
say he's
Mhm.
I wouldn't say he's doing anything wrong. I think he's looking at ways to make money. Never been a part of it. I know it means multiple people, but I know there's more to it. It's not that cut and dry. However, I know there's room for heartache, jealousy. I would just say make sure you're making your rules. You know what I mean? And sticking to the ones that you
If I get it, I think polyamory is when like there's 3 people in a relationship that are in a committed like 3-person relationship. Like it's not open to just like we're gonna go fuck other people. Like we're in the relationship together, like the 3 of us. That's what I think it is, or 4, I don't know, whatever.
So I'm just gonna say that B's actually G-dubs. He's been I'm joking. So recently, I shouldn't say recently. Within the last year or year and a half, I watched The Social Dilemma. Right.
Yeah, that's good.
So I'm going somewhere with this.
Mhm.
So The Social Dilemma, they talk to all these people that are from social media outlets, people that are presidents on the scene or CEOs, excuse me,
or they're involved somehow,
right? And so, they're all saying like, don't watch social media or like don't partake in it. It is mind controlling, all this stuff. But one of the things that stood out, one of the guys was like, if you're going to use it, just make sure you're creating your own searches. Now think about that for a minute, because me and B were talking about this. I talked about this before. I was like, when I go to YouTube now, I let them search for me. And then you're like, how did this come up in my feed? Do you even put it in a search? I do sometimes.
And then 2 hours have gone by.
I do sometimes, but like now they know the stuff I usually like.
Right.
I'll just go through the search.
It's pretty good. Like,
but they're really choosing for me. So what I'm saying is, in relationship to the poly thing, is don't let them choose the rules for you. Have a voice in that. Like when you asked me about the OnlyFans thing, we could talk about it, but I'm not just going to go, oh yeah, sure, that sounds great. Yeah, I don't care. Or I'm not going to go, oh, you're for the streets, you little hoe. I'm not going to say that, dude. I would be like, so how often do you go on there? We start asking some questions. How deep does the rabbit go?
As far as you want.
And it's funny, like I said, there's secondary gains. Like, you make how much? Oh, you make 20 grand a month and you want to take me on vacation? Sure, bring the camera. It's fine.
Yeah. Take the camera.
It's like no one wants to admit it, but a large portion of the population, everyone's got a price for something, right?
Did you bring up that movie? Was it Woody Harrelson?
Indecent Proposal?
Is that what it was?
The $1 million to sleep with his wife? Yeah.
Is it who is the?
And you know what's funny about that? If you offered $1 million, how many couples would be like, all right, fine?
And if it's not $1 million, like what, 10?
People would be like, people on the other end of that would be like, hell no. It's like, how much money you got in your account, dude? Right?
When it's real, yeah.
It's like, again, we're going to entertain this. You sit down with your wife or your girlfriend, like, let's talk about this before we turn it down, okay, hon? Right. Let's just get the scenarios right. I would say that I would like to say no, but if you did do it right, I'd go, we immediately leave. And we never talk to the guy. You could never talk to him again. There's no pictures. There's no nothing. We're gonna erase that part. That would be pretty bad though. Like to be married or a couple, it would ruin your relationship. Hard. Yeah, because it would be brought up all the time.
I mean, I'm sure some couples.
And that's why if you did do it, you'd go, we're gonna split the money right at the beginning. I think a lot of people if they were going to be honest, so they would be like, you know what?
That money sounds pretty good.
What was that movie? Jennifer Aniston's in it, and they go across country.
Recent movie? Is it a?
They were doing a drug deal.
We're the Millers or something.
We're
like
the
that?
Millers. Hilarious.
That's a good movie.
Shockingly hilarious, and that comes up like the police are stopping him, and he's like, he tells Jennifer Aniston, he's like, you're gonna have to take care of this. You're gonna have to blow this guy or something like that. And she's like, oh my God. And he's like, you just got to do it or else we're going to jail. And then the cop's like, no, I want you to the guy. And she's like, well, you're gonna have to do it. He's like, no, we're not gonna do that.
Come on, be fair.
That's pretty funny. Yeah. That's when the scenario flips. Yeah, people sometimes think that they would do certain things. I know, Angel. I know you were quoting Corey Wayne. You know what's funny is there's She's for the Streets. I think Future, the rapper, he says it in one of his videos.
Really?
And you just, like, because it's Corey Wayne's catchphrase, you wonder, does Future watch Corey Wayne?
Or is it just like,
well,
just gotten out there?
If you think about it, like with YouTube, I've had a couple people that are semi-famous. I wouldn't say on that level. They're going to look to YouTube for relationship advice or dating things too. It's going to come up at some point. I think that who they choose or who they like to listen to on that, whatever. But they're going to go there for answers when things are going wrong. I think everyone kind of does that now. So it's not surprising, right?
No, not at all.
10 to 20 a month is very good. 10 to 20K a month. 10 to 20.
That's, yep.
Be like, did you want me to buy an extra camera or two? Or it's pretty crazy. Supposedly there's some universities that have programs to teach how to do it.
To get into OnlyFans?
Yeah, like to monetize it and stuff. I've read this somewhere.
The breakdown of it.
There's been a few people that have been clients of mine that told me that their ex is now doing OnlyFans. I'm like, that's pretty tough when it's your ex. And they didn't do it before. That's a little different when it wasn't negotiated up front and then you didn't. That was Andrew Tate's big thing. He's like, it's all right as long as I'm getting half or full
I think
amount.
He said all of the money.
All right. So anyone that's on, like I said, writemac.com if you'd like to book a live coaching session, or if you'd like to turn in a story, a situationship, a bad date. We've done this last week where a couple bad date stories came in.
They're fun.
They are fun. And it's actually good for the audience too, because like I said, it just encourages you that worst case scenario, you have a really bad date. It's a good story and it's not something to run away from during the date, you might run away from the bad date. But I'm saying when you're worried about going out on a date and it doesn't work out or it doesn't go right, it just tells you, like you guys weren't meant to be. You guys don't mix well. And it's really interesting because you just don't realize how different people can be. You hang out with someone and you get deeper and you get to talking or this or that.
You realize they have some hamsters running around. It's just
you like that one.
You just can't do it,
Excuse me? Oh yeah, I like to put the hamster in bed. Excuse me? Can you put him back in the cage? Thank you. Oh, he just bites a little bit. No. Me and B were talking about this, is if you put, instead of like real world or reality TV the way it's done now, if you just had cameras all over a house following around you as a couple with your girlfriend or your partner or what have you, and then having someone edit that over a year, that'd be pretty interesting to see the conversations, the attitudes, your act. Because you really don't know how you act in situations. People might tell you, but
there's probably people somewhere on the internet that have done this.
Or you might realize how much you talk to yourself.
Self-talk.
Videos are on you all the time. All right, folks, this has been good and grand. I appreciate you all. Eduardo Martinez, Sam Lujan, Angel Jimenez, I believe. G Dubs. Are you a Warriors fan by chance? Golden State Dubs.
That'd be nice.
Just make sure you're true to yourself on that situation. And like I said, you're discussing terms aren't being imposed on you. If you're gonna do a polyamory situation or open relationship, you got to say. That's all. I think it's very easy. Oh, I don't know much about this, so you just tell me how it goes. It's like, no, there's not a set rules to it. And I would say you would probably want to meet the other individuals involved so that you're going to cross paths with them eventually, probably. But if anyone's had a situation like that watches that afterwards, please put it in the comments. Rob IS, you've had a few, right?
Polyamorous.
All right, folks. It's curtains.
Later, guys.